Welcome to the channel. We're back with some more head-to-head performance testing. This time, instead of looking at the Ally, we're going to look at the Lenovo Legion Go right here, and we're going to look at the original MSI Claw A1M. I have the Ultra 5 model, the 135H. So we're going to see how well both of these devices can handle No Man's Sky, because these devices, like the original Allies, are coming up available cheap now, and you might wonder, well, is it worth it to get the Lenovo Legion Go? Or sometimes you can find the Claw Ultra 5 version pretty cheap these days. So is it worth it to get one of these? Or you can actually compare to my other video and see, well, would you be better off spending the money on an Ally? Now, one thing that these both have over the Ally is that there's no issue with the micro SD slots. So you don't have to worry about, potentially having your micro SD card crap out on you while you have one of these. So that's one thing to consider if you're looking to add cheap storage rather than just replacing the SSD. These, as far as we know, don't have any actual problems with the micro SD slot. Now, with that said, what about performance? Well, looking at the specs here, we can see that the Legion Go is actually pretty similar to the ROG Ally. In other words, it's got the same processor, the Ryzen Z1 Extreme, same amount of RAM, and the one I have at least is the 512 gigabyte model. It has the same amount of storage. So the main differences are really that, well, Lenovo makes this one, which unfortunately means the drivers are sometimes a little behind compared to the Ally. I think Asus has actually been a little bit better updating their drivers than Lenovo has, but at least Lenovo finally put a relatively modern driver on the Legion Go about a month or two ago, I think. So it's not quite as bad as it used to be in terms of the driver front. And the Legion Go has some features like the detachable controllers. You can actually just use a little controller adapter, and such as one of these things, and kind of make it into a Nintendo Switch-like console. So the Legion Go is actually a pretty flexible device. It is large. I mean, given that it has an 8.8-inch screen, it is large, it is heavy, so if those are concerns to you, I think the Ally is actually one of the lightest devices like this. So if weight is your concern, probably want to go with the Ally over this. But this should perform similar to the Ally because it's very similar hardware, just has a bigger screen, can do higher resolutions, but we're going to keep the settings more or less the same as my other video where we tested the Ally. And as always, you'll see the settings in the video. Now, as far as the Claw, here's the Claw specs. And of course, the Claw is Intel based. The Claw that I have is the Ultra 5 version. The Ultra 7 version should be a little bit more powerful, although from what I can see, there's not as big of a difference between the two models of the Claw as there is between the two models of the Ally. Of course, the question here is, given that AMD has a lot more support for these devices than Intel does, Intel drivers are sometimes not really mature enough. Sometimes you get problems with games. We'll see if we have any of these problems with No Man's Sky. And the Intel drivers have improved a lot since the Claw first release. Frankly, when the Claw first released, the driver situation was terrible. A lot of games wouldn't play. I've had less problems with playing games on the Claw in recent times because the drivers have gotten a little bit better. Intel at least updates the drivers every now and then. And, it's gotten better, but is it up to the challenge of beating the Z1 Extreme handhelds like the Legion Go and the Ally? Well, we're going to take a look. So what we'll do is we'll first take a look at the performance of No Man's Sky on the Claw, and then we will take a look at the performance of the game on the Legion Go, see if we have any clear winners here. So without further ado, let's actually take a look at No Man's Sky on the MSI Claw.
Radiation protection falling. Radiation protection falling. Radiation protection stabilizing.
Well, that is the performance of No Man's Sky on the MSI Claw, the Ultra 5 model. And even though the frame rate counter nominally stayed near 60 most of the time, it really looked to me like the gameplay was pretty jittery. And I've been playing it on the game on the Steam Deck and on the Ally, and I'm not sure what's kind of going on here, but the frame rate counter looked good most of the time, but it just seemed that the frame rate might have been unsteady. I don't know if something's going on with the Intel drivers here or what, but the game certainly, and I think you can see it in the video when you're panning from left to right, or looking around, that the frames seem to stutter for a bit. So again, I'm not sure exactly what the problem is. Maybe I'll go and see if I can diagnose a little bit later. But I just go ahead and say I'm not really happy with the way that No Man's Sky feels on the Claw. And this is unusual because for the most part, recent games, I haven't seen much issue on the Claw compared to, say, the Ally or the Legion Go. But apparently, No Man's Sky maybe it just doesn't like the current Intel drivers. So as of filming this video, I do have the latest Intel drivers downloaded from Intel's website installed on my Claw. So shouldn't be an issue of outdated drivers, at least. But even though the counter is okay, I'm still not really happy with how the game is performing here on the Claw. So let's actually go look at the Legion Go, and we kind of know what to expect with the Legion Go because it really should perform fairly similarly to the Ally, given how similar the hardware is. But of course, we always want to do the testing, so let's take a look at No Man's Sky on the Lenovo Legion Go.
Radiation protection falling. Radiation protection falling. Radiation protection falling.
Well, if you watched my video on comparing the two Ally models, you probably suspected that the Lenovo Legion Go here would perform about the same as the Z1 Extreme version of the Ally, and that looks to be pretty much the case here. I mean, the performance is pretty similar. Game actually runs pretty smooth, feels good to look around, to run, to do stuff. So, and the Legion Go actually has a bigger screen, so if you're getting up there in years or you have bad eyesight, or you don't want to have so much eye strain, then the bigger screen of the Legion Go might be an advantage here if you want to play this game, because some of the text, and I particularly noticed this when I was playing the game on the Steam Deck. The Steam Deck is smaller screen than the Legion Go, and it's lower resolution too. So I noticed on the Steam Deck that some of the little icons telling you like what button you might want to push are kind of hard to read, but you definitely don't have that problem on the Legion Go here. And for that matter, you don't pretty much have the problem on any of the 1080p devices. It's just the 800p stuff like the Legion Go, not the Legion Go, but like the Steam Deck will have some readability problems with this game. But definitely the big screen here is a benefit to the Legion Go. Now, comparing these two devices, I'd say the Legion Go here is probably the clear winner, at least for this game, because, I'd say the stuttery behavior of the claw here. And, people said at the beginning when the claw came out, you're taking a risk betting on Intel because, Intel's graphics have less support. And I think we're kind of seeing that here with not quite as good a performance out of the claw as you might expect. Now, the claw does better, I think, probably than the Z1 Ally, but, the Z1 Ally is a pretty low bar to clear here. And I don't know if I'd recommend it because I think the claw is still going to be more expensive than the Z1 Ally. And if you're going to buy a claw, it's pretty much got the same form factor and cost as the Z1 Extreme Ally, and I think you should probably go with that if you're looking at PC games, unless you can get the claw really cheap. But I don't think it's really dropped much below what the Ally is now. It used to be the other way around. It used to be you could get the claw on clearance prices while the Ally was still full price. Well, not so anymore with the new generation handhelds coming out. So I think the Ally and maybe even the Legion Go are coming out as kind of the best value choices for these handhelds right about now. I think the claw, as much as I like the speakers on the claw and the joysticks are really nice feeling on the claw, it's probably not as good of a value now as it was maybe 6 or 8 months ago when the pricing was a little bit different. So, in conclusion here then, I think we got a clear winner in this one, kind of like we had in the last time. Last time, the Z1 Extreme Ally was our winner, and of course this time the Z1 Extreme Legion Go, I believe, is the winner here in this little competition. Well, that's about it for this video. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you liked it, remember to leave me a like. It helps people find my videos in the bazillion videos that there are out there on YouTube. If you want to see more of my handheld and gaming related content, remember to subscribe to the channel. Every little subscriber helps. And again, hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope to see you watching the next one.